Hello, my name is Keith Haswell. I'm a professional astrologer with 25,000 clients worldwide. It's my pleasure to welcome you to this video. And on this video, I'm going to be talking with you about a very, very powerful topic that has very great import in your life, and that is your self-image. Now, image can be broken down into three statements: identity, self-esteem, and impact. First of all, reality creation is an effect of consciousness. So your consciousness is creating your reality, and it creates that reality within certain limits and boundaries. All of us need boundaries, and that boundary is your self-image. We take out of those range of possibilities, we take a smaller number of possibilities and we give it feeling or desire or emotion, passion, and desire turns it into probabilities. And then out of that smaller range of probabilities, we then, by our conscious choices, manifest certain of them as actualities, as physical events or conditions and circumstances in our life. Now, it's consciousness that does this, your consciousness, your self-consciousness. Okay, so you are creating all of the events and conditions of your life from this pool of possibilities, turning them into probabilities and a smaller number of them into actualities, either by conscious choice, or if you don't take that responsibility of conscious choice, then it works subconsciously. Your subconscious mind does not have choice, however. It can only create from the probabilities the actualities that are in line with your self-image. Your self-image are the limits and the boundaries of your reality. And there is a range of probabilities, but they cannot become actualities unless they fit in with what your image of what is possible. And your image is the thing that determines which are going to become actualities. Okay, now you can create a reality like an abundance financially, or a business boost, or a promotion in your job, or whatever, a happy relationship. You can create that actuality, but if it doesn't fit in with your image, one of two things must and will happen. Either you must lift your image out there, expand your image out there to accommodate that new reality, or that reality will snap back to suit your image and to fit in with what your image of what is possible. And you've seen this happen so many times. You've seen how you've created some money and somehow the car breaks down, or you have an unexpected bill comes in. You have an image of yourself as always struggling financially, and so you create this abundance that somehow comes from out of the woodwork, and then all of a sudden, bang, there's an illness, or bang, there's an accident with the car, or bang, there's a breakdown with the car, or bang, there's this bill comes in that you didn't think about or make allowance for, to bring you back to what your image of you as a person who's struggling financially. And it's most demonstrable with people who are grossly overweight. People who are grossly overweight, even if they reduce their weight from say a 15, size 15 down to a size 8, it takes 18 months for them to see themselves in their image as a slim person. And this is why most people who do reduce, and even their friends can see that they've reduced and they're looking good, they will put that weight back on because they have an image of themselves as a heavy person. You've seen it happen so many times yourself, where somebody gets into a relationship which is going fantastic, but if their image can't hold, if their image of themselves is relationships never work out for me, I'm an unlucky person as far as relationships are concerned, it'll go along smoothly for a little while, but then all of a sudden, boom, something happens. A breakup in the relationship, or the person dies, or the person has to move overseas for their job, or something happens that breaks the relationship up. The whole purpose of life is to create success, whatever you class as success, to have fun and to create happiness and joy. Success is the creation of happiness, which is the fulfillment of your needs, and joy, which is the fulfillment of your preferences. But reality follows image, not the other way around. Some people think that it's the other way around, that my reality is such and therefore I have this image of myself as being this sort of a person or that sort of a person. But it doesn't work that way. Its image comes first and reality follows image. Why do we hang on to a limited self-image? We all have blockages, and these blockages are in the form of self-pity, martyrhood, guilt, shame, fear, anxiety, struggle, hardship, domination, manipulation, control, self-pity. And all of these things are basically payoffs to allow the reality that we're creating to fit in with our belief systems and our image that we hold of ourselves, so that we can beat ourselves up, so that we can punish ourselves, so that we can sabotage ourselves, so that we can allow ourselves to slip into self-pity and fear and anxiety, because that's the image that we hold of ourselves. The idea is to be able to change that image of yourself, and it will then attract, like a magnet, positive realities into your existence, into the events and conditions of your life. Now, I'm not going to be telling you here a whole bundle of techniques. I can't take you into meditation on the video. I do have another CD which goes into much more complexity about self-image and gives you techniques that you can follow, and I take you into meditation, and that CD is available for you. Now, on this one, I'm simply giving you information about what self-image is, so that by understanding and by that knowledge, it's an expansion of consciousness, which in turn gives you the choice to expand your self-image. Now, starting with the first component of self-image, which is identity. Identity, self-esteem, and impact. These are the three components of self-image. Now, the first of these is identity. Identity is basically the things that you think, the things that you say, and the things that you do. That's the thing that determines your identity. So you've got to work out, what do you think? And what do you say? And what do you do? Because that's the threefold components of identity. So you have to work out in your own mind, what do you think? What do you say? And what do you do? Now it's important to understand that you don't just have one identity. We are very complex beings. You have several identities. You are a different person. For example, you have a different identity when you're out at a party than what you are when you're at home. You have a different identity when you are at work. You think different things, you say different things, and you do different things when you're at work. You are a different identity when you're out at a football match or a sporting activity. You are a different person when you are with your children, if you have children. You are a different identity when you are out in a shopping mall. And so you have all of these different identities. That means that you think different things when you are expressing those various identities. You are saying different things. You will say different things when you're at work than what you will when you're at home. At work you might be quite confident and powerful. At home you might be quite shy and reserved. If you're out at a party you might be quite shy and reserved. Yet if you're with one or two people in a restaurant you might be quite outgoing and communicative. So there's many different identities. You have maybe 20 or 30 identities. You're a different person when you're walking through a forest than you are when you're walking through a shopping mall full of people. You're a different identity and a different person in a romantic situation than what you are when you're out with a group of people at a party. So you have all of these different identities that have different ways and means of thinking, saying and doing. And this is the complexity of you. The secret is not to try and just be the one identity. You've heard people say to you, you're not yourself tonight. For example, you're normally in the home environment. You might be very outgoing and confident and powerful in the home, but when you're out at a party you're very quiet and reserved, and someone might say to you, oh, you're not yourself tonight. Someone close to you who knows you well and knows your different identities. So yes, you are a different person when you're out there on the ski slopes than what you are perhaps when you're walking through a forest. You might be very outgoing and full of joy and wonder and exuberance in your personality whilst you're out at a party. Whereas when you're with a friend in the restaurant, just the two of you, you might be very reserved. You might be very serious in certain situations and take life as a joke when you're in other situations. So don't try to just be the one identity. Understand that you are a complexity. Now this complexity of yourself, these different identities, are like pearls on a string. And the string is your self-esteem. Your self-esteem is your subjective appraisal of self. Now, you have certain principles and values. All of us have principles and values which are the boundaries and the limits of what we will do and what we will not do. So you have principles such as honesty, responsibility, reliability, trustworthiness. You have principles of never hurting somebody consciously. And you have these principles, but the thing that determines what your character is the frequency with which you apply those principles. Are you only honest unless you think that you can get away with it? Are you only truthful when it's convenient? Are you only reliable when you think you'll get into trouble if you're not reliable? Do you only take responsibility when you have to and it's forced upon you? So the thing that determines your level of self-esteem is the boundaries of your principles and values and your character. The character is the frequency with which you apply your principles. Now, these are things, the principles and values. Your character is something which holds those beads of your identity, and it forms the boundaries or the limits of those identities. So yes, you might be a different person when you're out at a party than what you are when you're with 2 or 3 friends in a restaurant. You might be a different person when you're out with your children walking through a forest than what you are when you're with your children playing in the park with them. You might be the juvenile self and you slide down the slippery dip and hop on the swings with them and so forth. But when you're with them in doing their homework and helping them with their homework, you're very different and very practical and very coordinated and organised. So you have all of these different things there that are part of your character, and those things, those principles and values are constant. In other words, you can have a different identity expressing itself at a party as you will when you are with 2 or 3 people in a restaurant, but you will always be honest. You will always be reliable. You will always be trustworthy. You will never try to consciously hurt somebody. And you will take responsibility. So you are a different person when you're with the people at work than what you are when you are out at the club with your friends, but you still have the same character there, and you still have the same boundaries of your principles and your values. So this is what you are. You are a complexity of many identities. These identities are strung on a string of self-esteem. Your limits and boundaries beyond which you will not go. And the principles are the thing that determines how you will act and interact with other people in life. So we've now covered 2 components of your self-image, that is your identities, and you realise now that you have a multiplicity of identities, a number of different identities, all held within the boundaries of your self-esteem, guarded by and controlled and directed by your principles and values, your subjective appraisal of self, which is your self-esteem. Now, as you act through your various identities, controlled within this string of self-esteem and character, you are being observed by other people, and that is impact. That is the impact that you have upon them. Now, as you observe yourself internally in those actions and interactions with others, so you create self-image. So self-image is the image that you hold of yourself in terms of your character and your principles and values in your interaction with other people through your various identities. And as I observe myself from within myself, I have self-image. As I am observed by those that I interact with in my reality, I have impact. So that impact sometimes is mistaken for image. The image that I have of you is such and such and such and such. The image that I had of you when I first met you was that you were very outgoing and very effervescent and very joyous. But when I got to know you better, you were a very serious and thoughtful sort of a person, and you were very deep. When I first met you, I had an image of you as not being reliable and trustworthy. But as I got to know you, my image of you changed. But what you really mean when you say those things is not the image that I had of you, but the impact that you had upon me. And so therefore that's a component of image, is the impact that you create on other people from within their perceptions, but from your internal perceptions of self, you have image. These three components of image can be likened to a river. The drops of water in the river are your various identities. The current is that which moves it along, which is your self-esteem, your principles, your values, your character, and the banks of the river are the image, that which holds it within that certain image, the limits beyond which you will not go. Now, in the reality that we're experiencing here in this space-time rule set, we all need boundaries. Now, if the boundaries that you have are not set by your principles and values, in other words, by your character, then the boundaries will, by default, be your blockages, your limitations of fear, anxiety, self-pity, martyrhood, shame, guilt, domination, manipulation, control, self-sabotage, self-punishment. So we must have boundaries to exist in this physical reality. Self-image are the boundaries of our physical reality, our emotional self, our mental self, and our intuitive self. So through a positive self-image, I have an opportunity to express myself through my various identities, through what I think, say, and do, and I give these identities freedom within the bounds of my self-esteem. So all of us are working through a self-image. We work through our self-image, which can be positive or negative, and we allow those identities, the multiple identities that we are, the complexity of self, the things that you think, say, and do, freedom of expression within the bounds of your self-esteem, your principles, values, and your character. And in that process, in your interaction with your reality and with people in your reality, you create impact upon them and image internally upon self. Now you have a variety of identities, and some of those identities you may not like. For example, you might be very outgoing and overdo it a little bit through alcohol when you're at a party. And so you don't like that identity perhaps, and so therefore you don't go to parties very often. You might be very shy and awkward in an intimate relationship, one-on-one in a restaurant with one person. And so therefore you perhaps don't like that identity. And so therefore you don't go out in intimate dinners very much. You like to go out more with a group of people. So yes, you have the opportunity to give freedom to your different identities, preferences of the expression of your various identities. And that process creates self-image. We all have a tremendous urge. One of the needs that we all have in incarnation is to know ourselves. The thing that allows us to know ourselves is image, self-image. So I thank you for your attentiveness here, and I look forward to working further with you. Should you decide to have your horoscope done by me, I'm happy to do your horoscope for you free of charge through my website. And there's a whole bundle of my videos that are available to you to watch, and so I urge you to subscribe to my videos so that each new one that I bring out in this year, I plan to make 100 videos. I'm almost up to 50 now, and so therefore if you subscribe you get each one as it comes out. And we are all in incarnation, and we're all of complexity. This is the thing that's very, very perplexing, is our own complexity. And we all have an urge to know ourselves. There's just so much information there from so many different areas that we just don't know which to believe and which to follow. And so it's very good to have somebody who has integrated all of this understanding into their own consciousness and can break it down into ways and means for you to understand. But look, you are going to have to really knuckle down to keep abreast of the crest of the wave of evolution in terms of quantum physics and the holographic nature of reality, because science is just bringing all of this more and more to the fore. It's the scientists that are talking about these multiple universes and multiple worlds and holographic nature of reality and all these strangenesses about our reality. You will have to really apply yourself to keep abreast of the times, to be able to inculcate all of this knowledge into yourself as understanding. And this is what I've written my 2 books for. I've written my 2 books, a distillation of 38 years of research and investigation into all of these things. I've put it all into my intensives, online intensives, and I'd lead you through and build you up in consciousness through astrology and meditation, reincarnation, how does it all function, what are we made of and consist of, and then I lead you into the deeper side of things through my 2nd book, Coming Home, An Eternal Journey. It's a wonderful journey that all of us are on. God and Goddess have given us the gift of eternal life. We can never ever die. And for somebody to not have a total belief in that fact is a tragedy. God and Goddess love you and know your name. For you to not know that and not totally believe that and comprehend that and have integrated that into your understanding is a tragedy. So it's been a great pleasure to have this opportunity to talk with you, and I look forward to working further with you should you decide to have your horoscope done or work through my videos and work through my intensives and so forth. And I wish you well in your own direction in life. Thank you.